Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell him how we sees it.
Sex is a poetic act. It's a metaphor. Metaphor for what? Are we our forms? Am I a middle-aged white guy on the inside, too? Or inside? Could I be an Asian girl?
I don't know.
Guess I was trying to fuck my way to the answer. And then I realized I gotta stop the drugs, the girls, trying to be a girl. I got into Buddhism, which is all about spirit versus form, detaching from self, getting off the never-ending carousel of lust and suffering. Being sober isn't so hard. Being celibate, though, I still miss that buzzy, man.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 281. This week we're covering The White Lotus season 3. We had done the other 2 seasons, and right before this one dropped in, or kind of in the beginning, but when this was dropped in, we wanted to finish up the series and get into this season 3 because the first 2 were a lot of fun, and it seemed like it was going to be the same. Same writer, same director. Very interesting themes throughout the first 2 seasons. So it was interesting to see what they came up with on this one, because he doesn't want to do the same thing. Mike White being the director writer, and I think he nailed another season.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't want to do the same thing. You can tell just with the musical theme. I think we've already talked about this. The first 2 seasons are a lot more similar. But this one really was strikingly different. It really kind of went away from it. Apparently, he didn't want it to be too similar, and that was a big.
Well, and apparently it's not the same composer either.
True.
I was looking up some other stuff and quickly saw something for the theme of season 3, and it was like, oh, composer and Mike White had a fight about this, and I was like, oh God, I wish I would have known more about that. No one else talked about it. I listened to a bunch of different podcasts. I listened to HBO's official one, so not their greatest, but it had a lot of information. What I did enjoy about that one is they went and did interviews with a lot of the actors.
Oh, that's nice to see. Yeah.
And then they did a final one with Mike White, which is interesting to listen to him kind of give his take on what he's doing.
Yeah, I saw a few blooper outtakes, but I didn't watch any interviews beyond. Oh, well, I saw a lot of people a lot of the other cast members trying to mimic Parker Posey's North Carolina accent.
So get this, that's her actual, she's not putting on an accent. She's actually from the South, from her own words.
Okay.
Her own words. That's maybe that's not how she talks it every day, but that is a natural dialect for her.
She was interesting. It was interesting. I did see an interview. I don't know if it was the same one, but where she was talking about how many different Southern dialects there are, and
yes.
she was really trying to lend to the material. It was kind of had a lot of amusing lines and stuff, but she wanted to be respectful too, and she gets a lot of North Carolinians saying, "You really nailed that accent and stuff."
That's what she says. Is she says that's she's from the South or from that area, and so she's like, I have family members that speak exactly like this, and I was like, dude, that's just crazy. So funny thing too is a lot of people were saying she was the new Tanya, which I get, because she's kind of out there a little bit, drugged up, or supposedly drugged up most of the time.
Actually, she's offered. She's going through withdrawal because her husband is stolen all the.
Yeah, and that was an interesting thing too, and we'll get into that. But to get into all of this, one of the things we got to do here on How We Sees It is we got to talk about our drinks, because we make a cocktail or a drink that we pair to whatever it is we're watching, and that's no different this week. I'm going to go first because I know Steve always brings the thunder. In mine, I'm happy with it, but I was struggling trying to figure it out, and I was looking for different drinks, and I started looking up the Full Moon Party. right? Everybody went to this, or not everybody,
True.
but
Yeah.
a big group of them went to this full moon party, and they got bucket drinks, which apparently is a big deal. In the full moon party is a real thing, and it happens every full moon in Thailand in this certain area, and these bucket drinks are a big part of it, and it's basically just cheap alcohol served in a little kid's sand bucket. And you got a bunch of straws, and you just share it with people, and everybody's sharing the drinks, and I'm like, that sounds insane. So I scrambled around and found one of my granddaughter's little sand buckets, cleaned it out pretty good, picked out some alcohol and some stuff that I wanted to put into this. And I'm calling this my full moon philosophy.
Nice.
And I pulled that out of my ass at the last minute when I was getting ready to text this. I'm not even kidding. I was like, what am I going to call this thing? But I wanted to do something to acknowledge that bucket drink just because it sounds fun. So theirs apparently is a Thai whiskey and a Red Bull style energy drink and Coke. Or a Pepsi or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I want to go with a little bit different. So I did go with a whiskey, but I went with a new one that I found that I just absolutely love. And it's a pineapple Jim Beam whiskey. And the other day I made whiskey sours out of it. Oh my God, they were like, I could live off those fucking things. Anyways, so I started with that. And I went with full 4 ounces into the bucket. Okay. Then I was like, kind of tropical theme. They had a Mai Tai, or not Mai Tais, but Pina Coladas, which is coconut milk. Yep. And I was like, oh, I got to throw some coconut in this. So I pulled out my Captain Morgan's Parrot Bay coconut rum, the 90 proof.
There you go.
Right? Because you got to go with 90 proof. That low level stuff doesn't get it. Not at a full moon party. So I threw in 4 ounces of that. So I'm already at 8 ounces of a high octane alcohol. Then I topped it. I didn't want to go with an energy drink and a soda or whatever, so I just went straight, topped it off with a Rockstar in a bucket of ice. That's it. It's basically good to go. It was about half the can of sugar-free Rockstar because that's what I had in the fridge, and it's actually one I like. And it's going to be what it's going to be, but this is a party drink. You're not going for flavor. You're not going for style. You're just going to get tore up for the night and keep your energy up. Yeah, exactly. So here it is. And I'm drinking out of a straw just because it's kind of a largemouth bucket for drinking out of.
You need a little sand shovel, like to go along with your bucket.
Yeah. It's actually pretty tasty. If I would have had more time to think about this and would have prepped a little bit better and knew this is what I was doing, I might have got a different energy drink that had a better fruit flavor. I know there's the C4 Skittles one is one I really like that I think that would have just put this over the top.
Right.
It would have been a great party drink. But yeah, this could be fun on a party night where you're just out just getting slosh and dancing and having fun and so
nice.
It's going to be good.
Nice. Well, my drink was inspired by the Ratcliffe family. Had some interesting things going on with the group of them, but Saxon is kind of obsessed with his protein shakes, with his protein shakes every morning.
I thought about that too.
And so I put together a protein shake. I actually have a protein powder I use. It's called Huel. So a little product placement there. Huel. It's a chocolate one. So I made and I called it my Pong-pong Shake because in the end it's the pong-pong tree that is where you
the suicide fruit.
Yeah, the suicide fruit that the seeds can poison you, which comes into play at the end, and actually gets mixed in with the protein shake a little bit. So I poisoned this up with a few other ingredients. I did go with the themes that were drawn from the the pina coladas. So I had some coconut milk or coconut cream actually in here with some rum. I used my overproof 151 Demerara rum. I figured because it's the Demerara River. And this was right next to the water. There's so many water themes in White Lotus that it seemed appropriate to go with that. 1.5 ounces of the dark rum, 1/2 ounce of the green chartreuse. We're dealing with a lot of monks here. Now they're not Buddhist monks that make the chartreuse, but hey, they're still monks.
A monk is a monk.
A monk, and that's a big theme with the Ratcliffe family. With the daughter wanting to hang out with the monks. So I put a 1/2 ounce of green chartreuse. I got a 1/2 ounce of my coconut cream, half ounce of lime juice, and then a 1/4 ounce of banana liqueur. And this was in honor of Saxon and Lockie's hand job, you might say. In fact,
oh my God, it's so funny.
I even tried to make the garnish look like it had one, like a half of a banana sticking out with, another one, another piece of banana that I had charred a little bit to look like a fist, I don't think it turned out very well, but that was the idea. So I threw a little Angostura bitters in here and a little cold water. In my recipe, I think I used the Thai spelling of water, just because I thought water was a boring ingredient. So I mixed it up. So if you look at my ingredients, it is written in Thai, but all it says is water. So anyway, I call it my Pong-pong Shake. I haven't tried it yet. Those Huel protein drinks aren't always the tastiest thing, but I guess that's the case with what Saxon's always saying. It's not about the taste. But yeah, I'm hoping this has a little bit more play. But anyway, that's it. My Pong-pong Shake.
It's funny. You hit on so many themes that I had thought of. I thought of like, how do you make a protein shake and make it alcoholic? And I was like, oh, that just sounds horrible. But yeah, I actually looked into doing one called a helping hand. Based off the brothers. And so I get it. I know exactly where you're going with that. That's an excellent
helping hand. That's funny. I wrote down some of that dialogue. It's okay for you to like worship me, but don't worship me. You know what I mean? But then what the kid says, or what's his name, Lockie or Lachlan? All you care about is getting off. And I saw you lying there, and I thought you looked a little left out. And I'm a pleaser, exactly. I just wanted to give everyone what they want, and I'm in a family full of narcissists. Yeah. I mean, what a thought. I mean, he's 18, and he's coming up with lines like that. I get.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
or Mike White is and giving him the dialogue, but
yeah, it's an interesting aspect too, because you get this. I think it's in the first episode where that whole family, the Ratcliffes. It's an interesting dynamic in there with the mother and father, kind of in their own world, and you've got the two opposite ends of the spectrum of the kids in the older son.
Saxon's the oldest.
Saxon, yeah, and then Piper, where Saxon is kind of, where he's kind of right, where he's being the manly man. He's in that toxic masculinity kind of everything is he's got to be powerful and stuff. Where Piper is trying to like look at things like she's going to the Buddhist colony and she's thinking about taking this vow of peace and all this stuff. Opposite ends of the spectrum, and then you got Lockie, who is kind of being molded and tossed between and fought over by these different factions.
Yeah, it reminded me of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, when you're first introduced to the three characters, and one of them saying, I believe I should be leader of this outfit. And the other one says, but I want. And then they look at the third guy and say, and he looks up at them and he says, well, I'm with you fellers. It's just this idea that he's not really answering anything, but that's how they introduce it, is like, yeah, I'll go with you to look at the monks, and then I'll meet you afterwards. And it's like kind of he's trying to split.
It's ping pong.
Yeah, he's trying. But pong pong.
Pong-pong, but he's being thrown in the room with Saxton because he's too old to sleep in the room with his sister, because they got grown parts. But then he's kind of checking out his brother's ass at one point, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? You're like, I'm like, is he gonna? Is it? I thought they were gonna go with him being gay. I thought that was gonna be a big theme with him or something, but he really, maybe he's just plays both sides. I don't know. Because then he has,
or maybe he's been kind of sheltered.
It's a weird way they play it, because it looks like he's checking out his brother and kind of fantasy about his brother as his brother's getting ready to jack off. And then later on, he has this conversation with his sister out on these fucking hammocks on the ocean, which fucking that looks so cool.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like this incesty kind of conversation with them too, and you're like, what's going on here? What is this? Interesting enough, and I didn't come up with this on my own, but someone else said it on one of the podcasts, is the three siblings are the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
I saw that reference too. Yeah. Interesting.
And it's I think it's one of the it's a picture from I think when they're leaving, and one of them's got headphones on, one's like down covering their mouth. Like
that's right. That's how they're introduced on the boat too, right?
Yeah.
In fact,
then they swap situations.
At the end, yeah, they're swapped around. You know, the idea of threes comes up more than just in this family, because then you've got the three cougars that are. Well, that's what Saxon refers to them, like cougars, yeah.
Right.
The three of them, and then there's this great scene on the boat where you've got the kind of the three figureheads. You've got Tim, the father. And then he's right alongside Rick, and he's right alongside Greg, who's not Greg. Wait, what's
Greg Gary?
I know, but what's his? Is that his real name or is that his fake name?
Greg Hunt, and then I think he goes by Gary in the show.
Okay, but anyway,
so everybody was calling him Greg Gary.
It shows the three of them and kind of plays into that that idea of three, which kind of continued throughout this season.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of I think the standout stars in this who played Chelsea, Amy Lou Wood. She even wonderful. Says that bad things come in threes. That's one of her lines.
That's right. Because she gets she thinks she's the one that almost dies twice, and then
and then does. You're right. Threes was a big play in this, and there's a lot of different things. Amy Lou Wood was incredible in this, and a lot of people are talking about how she was such a standout star. I know, for me personally, and I think you know about her from this too, is Sex Education.
Sure.
She's in that, and she's great in that, and she starts off the first episode with an incredible topless scene where she's riding a guy, and you're like, this is my kind of show. I'm all for this. And then you don't see anything for the rest of the 6 seasons or however many seasons are out there. And you're like, oh my God, you guys bait and switched me, but it's still a good enough show to watch. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But she comes back in this one and does it again, and I'm like, woo, yeah.
This kind of plays more into Rick's, issues, his mother issues. He's going right after her boobs. That's he's like, sucking on her nipples just like a son sucks on his mother's nipples. I think it's playing into that theme because I was curious.
Okay.
I think Mike White, right? Mike White is trying to make thoughtful choices, and when he shows nudity, which he does in these series, there's usually a certain shock value, but then you can kind of rewind it and say, okay, he did that for a reason. It's not just to throw some titties in our face, which.
I get what you're saying a little bit.
All I'm saying is that I was trying to analyze it, and that's what I came up with.
I wasn't analyzing anything. I was just enjoying it. Yeah. And I have to admit, when my wife is on top, I'm always trying to sit up and get a boob in the mouth too, if I can.
Okay.
It's great for the core workout. Like if you want some abs, that's one way to get them. Anyways, but yeah, no, I just thought it was great, and she's just a fun character.
She's definitely pure and wholesome in this. She's the most loyal. I mean, she doesn't cheat on Rick. You don't even question. She puts out this vibe like it's just not something she's even considering it. She's a romantic, which is what Chloe says. Ooh, that's a bad sign. All the romantics and you ended up dead, or I don't know. Another sign, another kind of this bad sign of what's to come.
Yes. No, I think you're right. It's a very interesting thing that with her in this. There's some crazy stuff with it, but she's very naive in a way. One of the things I do like about what she did, she is herself. She stays with it the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what the hell's going on here?
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I was trying to look up something. I found an article on the White Lotus season 3 that was on Reddit that really dove deep down into the personalities of all these, and they nailed her where she was basically like blinders on, like she didn't
like naive.
Rick. naivete, right?
Okay.
Like, and it was like, but it was on purpose to like to see no evil, right? And like she ignored all the insults that Rick was throwing at her the whole time, and it really, when I thought about it, I was like, oh shit, that brings up a whole different aspect of who she is and stuff. And I was like, but it makes sense, like, you know, she seems so innocent, but then again, it's also when you step back and you go, maybe she's not that innocent. She just doesn't like, she doesn't see it for the problems that it is, you know, and it comes back to bite her. The other theme that I saw in this, and this really showed up a lot, and it also kind of, I was a little mad because of the way they filmed it, but then when I thought about it, I was like, okay, I get it. When Rick, and we're getting into spoilers if you don't know,
Oh yeah.
Rick gets shot and killed at the end as he's carrying away her after she got shot in the final shootout, right? Which is played up from the very beginning. That's the big mystery. When they're laying down in the water because they fell into the water, Rick is laying upward with his face, you know, smiling up to the heavens, like he's released all his demons. You know, his thing was over obsession and stuff like that.
Found his peace and closure.
He's found his peace. Well, she is face down, right? And the theme with them has been yin and yang through the whole. Mm-hmm. And I was like, my first thought was when they're floating in the water, I was like, why not have her face up too?
Yeah.
He was wearing no bra. Her shirt is wet. That would have been a perfect ending for everybody that wanted to see that. But then I thought, oh, it's the yin and yang. Yeah, the guy in me was like, come on.
It's interesting that because she was always looking towards the future. And, you know, you have love in your future, whereas he's like obsessed with what he's lost in the past. And so the fact that he was looking up and she was looking down, it's almost a reverse of that. But it is.
They played a lot into it. It's the yin and yang. She said she's hope and he's pain. Mm-hmm. You know, she's trying. You know, and so much is she looks at his life as it is what it is. You take it as it goes, and he is like, no, I'm going to drive it to where I want it to be.
Yeah.
You know, his obsession with this. If I can fix this part and this search for the guy who killed my father and finish that, life could be good again. Where she is like, no, you take life as it is, and whatever it is, good or bad, you have, you know, that's what the final amor fati,
right?
The last episode, that's what that means is just the love of fate is bad or good. You just take it as it is and you go with it, and it just. It's really, really good.
I have a question for you because I was watching this. I watched most of it all over again these last couple of days. I kind of binged it pretty quick, and I realized that when I watched it the first time, and I think I'm like this for all of them. I don't try to predict what's going to happen. I don't find that I'm trying to guess.
Figure out who's going to be shot, what's going to be. Well, right. You know, I didn't.
And to me, I just kind of like seemed to like let it play out. But in retrospect, watching it the second time, I think this is probably the season that probably had all the puzzle pieces much more readily available for someone who wanted to kind of come up with a solution that seemed to fit.
They were throwing you a lot more like Easter eggs to try, or not Easter eggs, but false flags to, like, you know, the gun here and the gun there and the search for the gun, which they never even was the gun that was fired. Well, I guess it was in the end. It was the one that killed Rick. But, you know, it was very interesting. You know, we got that one in the second season. You know, there's a body that floats up. So the whole time you knew someone was going to die in the water, and they teased that one a couple times.
They tease it, but you never really can come up with an answer that, you know, she's going to take a trip and fall.
No, you would have never got that one. You would have never got that one in 100 years. And the first one, all we got was
the tarot cards, because the tarot cards had the upside down fool.
True. You know. Well, that could have been a lot with her. And then, you know, in the first season, they had the body being loaded onto the plane, and so that was kind of a who dies, which, you know, I'm with you. I did not, and I only watched this one time. I wasn't trying to figure out who was going to be, you know, be the one that ends up shooting. Because I figured the funniest one I heard was someone was like, I wish it was just like one of those monkeys that kept showing, like the monkeys got the gun and were just fucking firing off. And it was a false flag. Like nobody died from the gunshots. Because they didn't show a body. Oh, I guess they did show a body.
They showed like something floating.
Which, you know, when I go back and think about that, he goes through the water, but he would have never got anywhere close to where there would have had to have been the bodyguards. Apparently,
Could have been the bodyguards. Yep, because they fell in.
Yeah,
the water.
I don't know. I did not like the opening for this. I didn't care for it at all. It didn't really get me intrigued into anything else. I would almost rather not have that and just, you know what I mean? Like do like a fantasy island or a Love Boat where you just introduce the people without any idea of what their problems are, what's going to come from it.
I think that's a big selling point of this whole series. I think we talked about this last time. Is that the whole idea? It's just a great formula. You start. I mean, just to hook an audience is just.
No, but you just said that the first time you watch it, you didn't care about it.
No, all I'm saying is that
I didn't care about it. So
what I'm saying is that I don't find that I'm trying to predict what the mystery is, and I don't know why. I think I just because
I don't care about it as much.
A lot of mysteries. Well, if I'm watching something with Cindy, she'll like, oh, I think it was the butler. She'll come up with her theories and stuff like that. And usually she's right. So, but I don't tend to watch things that way. And maybe that's just a nod to his writing because I'm more interested in the characters and things that are going on, not necessarily solving the mystery. But
right,
yeah,
and that's what's great about his shows is his story is incredibly written.
The tease at the beginning, though. I think a big part of this one was all the gunshots, and it really makes it lends to what I think is more explored in season 3, which is this idea of violence and evil, and the gunshots allude to that. And there's a lot of violence and evil explored throughout this entire season, whether it's physical fighting, the Muay Thai, violent fighting that's going on, all the robberies, the gun range.
The robbery was a big nothing burger.
Well, no, but that kind of it explored what's his name, Gay Talk. I don't know how to pronounce that right. If that's right.
Guy Talk is I heard people say Gay Talk. I heard people say Guy Talk. I thought it sounded better as Guy Talk.
Guy Talk. Okay. I don't think they were always speaking Thai
yes.
And I'd see the subtitles, but I could never pull his name out of the dialogue. So I think it's just the way they speak it. But Mook I got.
Yeah. Mook. Well, I mean, that's pretty easy. Interesting enough too, like, so the Mook character and the Guy Talk characters, very good side story, right? Part of the very ending. But if you took that story out, this thing wouldn't really change other than the final killing. But like, I thought theirs was one of the most boring part of the story. Like when they were on, I was kind of like, ugh.
To me, it was Belinda and
I know they're in Zion. Oh, important. God. Well, okay, so that's in there. This this is a very interesting one for me, and I'll be interested to see how you take it. So Belinda shows up, right? She's our a throwback from season 1.
Right.
She's the one that got fucked over by Tanya because she said, "Oh, you're so great. I want to offer you some money and start this thing." And reneges on her. Right. Well, and then she shows up and then she sees Guy Gary and puts 2 and 2 together that she thinks that she killed him. Now, he hasn't been proven, it's not 100%, but she's on that thing. And then her son shows up and they get some money from him, $5 million or whatever. And then she does this.
He offers $100,000 and she's like, I don't want your blood money. But then
she switches real fucking quick. So
exactly, she does. And she pulls the
Tanya.
Yep, she pulls a Tanya.
And so you know what? For me, it was almost therapeutic because listening to people talk about Belinda from season 1 and like, oh, she was so screwed over and all this, and I was like, she knew a person for a week, right? A fucking crazy woman.
Yeah,
a crazy woman, and she didn't get fucked over because she put some time into it, but she didn't really give.
No,
I was kind of like, you guys are giving way too. But here's why I think
everyone has their price in a sense,
Well, but here's the reason I think people were so onto this, and this goes. And fuck, I don't even want to bring this up the way it is, but this is the woke culture of like, well, she's the woman of color, and she got fucked over by the white woman, and this and that, and everyone was like on this, and it's like, no, it just. just because you talk to someone with money and they say they're going to do something doesn't mean they have to do it. Like, you didn't sign contract. And so there's so many people, and then everybody's like, oh, I'm so glad Belinda's black and she got her, thing going and everything. She got hers. But then she turned around and turned into the same fucking kind of person, right? Money fucking ruins everybody, right? I would hope that if I got $5 million, I would, we would turn this into a franchise, and we would, I wouldn't kick you to the curb at all. I wouldn't do that. Some of my own family, I might. I wouldn't. But no, I thought it was kind of kind of therapeutic to me, because it was kind of like, see, she ain't all that. She's not this perfect angel.
I was a little kind of bored with the character, and I didn't see much when I was trying to figure out.
She was boring.
Porn Chai and his, what he was about, because I was totally misreading a lot of his body language. It's like, is he really into her, or is he just kind of?
So here's what I got out of the Porn Chai Belinda story of them being into each other. They're both massage therapists. They're both into helping people heal and find their center, and they were able to do that for each other in a way. And so it was kind of like finding someone that is on that same path of life as you and enjoying the same things, and finding that, and finding, when you can find the personality that you love, everything else around it can become that. And so I think that's, to me, what it was, is they found something in each other that they really liked in themselves.
I appreciate hearing that, because I was trying to get a better sense of what they were trying to portray, and I didn't.
That's kind of what I thought, but I mean, it was a boring story.
Yeah. I do like where it ended up, and this, to me, this series was had its lull in the middle episodes. It had its moments, absolutely. Yeah. But I think I even talked to you when I was about halfway through. I'm like, I really like how it's set up, but I'm not really sure.
Do you think that was because it had an extra 2 episodes compared to the first season, and an extra episode compared to
It could be. On the second viewing, I was not as into it. No, I was more connected with the storylines, and everything was resonating. But that, I think, is because I think I kind of lost a little patience, or maybe you're just wondering where things are going, and sometimes you can easily be distracted if it's not going.
Do you think it's because you knew the end?
Yeah,
and I
had the complete story, so instead I was focusing more on details, not on taking it in. And when I was taking it in, I'm more affected by pace. And to me, this felt like the middle was a little paced, a little slower.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You're dealing with 25 characters.
There is a lot.
What was there? There was something that Chelsea said. I think it was the last episode, when she's talking to Saxon about the philosophy book on the writer, and she's talking about how groups of people are connected in unknown ways, and they interrelate, and they kind of affect each other's paths. I think she was really kind of maybe Mike White was writing the dialogue, saying, "Hey, these are the sort of philosophies that inspire my writing style," because he does. It's very much a soap opera, But
it full on is.
But it's all intertwined, and he uses a lot of philosophy to tie these themes together in an interesting way. So I don't mind the fact that Gay Talk and Mook. I think they were critical to the overall story. But,
but it was like, I wanted more. Personally, I could have done a whole show on just the Ratcliffes, or just the Friends group, the Cougars, as you call them. Yeah. Like, those were the ones that were interesting to me, and Chelsea and Rick. Like, those were the ones that were the screen. I'm like, I'm involved.
Yeah.
When it was Belinda, and when it was, Guy Tuck and Mook, I was like, not really caring about it.
I liked Guy Tuck and Mook just because I think if they gave him more screen time, it would have been too much. I think they gave him just the right amount of screen time to make it interesting. So I was okay with it.
I liked Guy Talk as an actor. I thought he was great. I was really kind of intrigued by him, and he had his Buddhist philosophy that he really stuck to, and he made me believe that. But he also was kind of like, the stuff he was doing. I kind of liked his story. I liked his story more than I did the Belinda side of it. But Mook, to me, was kind of, I don't know, so apparently she's a K-pop singer and big,
Is she?
like
Okay.
super big. Like this is her first acting gig. She's very attractive, but like she didn't do anything for me. Like I wasn't impressed by anything. I was impressed by what he saw in her.
Yeah, I thought it felt very real to me that he would be enamored with someone, and she was almost just kind of like saying, "Look, I'll be with you."
She wants the bad boy,
but I want you. I'm going to manipulate you a little bit. I'm going to lead you this direction, and if you're going to go
wants
there,
the bad boy.
Because the look on her face when he said he was going to quit. And I'm going to quit. This job isn't for me. And
she already shut down. She was out of it.
She completely shut down. And it's like
maybe that's why I dislike her as much as I did, because I kind of saw that it was like you are not liking him for him.
But that's fair.
You want him to be someone else.
I find it interesting when these characters choose to go to a place that they know that you're not going to like them for it, because it exposes, a manipulative side of them. But that's something that I think is written into a lot of these characters. So I think she did a good job with it.
So theme is a big part of White Lotus, right? The first one was, money and all that. The second one was a lot of sexuality and the power of sex as a currency almost. The theme in this one was a little harder to kind of nail down, but for me, it came down to identity and morals.
I see, right? Identity, but I brought up a little while ago the evil and violence. I think this is exploring that a lot more. But I like identity too. They do. But
identity and the morals is like, the flip in your morals, like or the change. Belinda is a big one, where she I'm not going to take your blood money, but if it's enough money, I'll take it and change my values. Yeah. Guy talk. I'm a Buddhist, but I killed someone and now I can be this guard for Mook. We got the three friends. They're kind of superficial in they have their ideals, but they kind of put on this face for it, and then but they have their morals behind it, but they let them go. There's just different things, and to me that was kind of part of where it was, and then the switch in the three kids.
They want to capture their youthful identity, and they're kind of battling between.
I enjoyed them the most. So Carrie Coon, who played Lori Duff, who was I'm not sure if you know the three between them. Jacqueline was kind of the one who paid for it all. She was the star.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Lori Duff was the one who finally slept with the Russian guy. It had, great scene where she's crawling out the window and running away and her pants falling down. It's so hilarious.
That's Carrie Coons. Yeah.
I did not realize. I just pulled up her IMDb. I'm like, because I thought to me she was the most real of the friends, right? Like,
I get that, sure.
And I really enjoyed her. And then I was looking at her like IMDb, and I'm like, okay, Gone Girl, Avengers, Infinity, what? Proxima Midnight. I'm like, what? What a way! And then Ghostbusters. What? I'm like,
Ghostbusters. I knew, and I knew Gone Girl because she's great in that. I think she's the sister. But what is she in Infinity Wars? Is she like?
So it says Proxima Midnight, which is one of the Thanos.
So she's got makeup and stuff you don't get to see.
Yeah, she's the one with the horns, but I was like, oh, that's fucking cool as shit. So I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But I thought she was so cool. And when I was reading this guy's thing on Reddit, he was talking about them and how they have this personality, that they throw up in front of everybody, like, oh, my life is so good and my marriage is so good and my, this, but it's all fake. And when they're together, they pump each other up, and it's this toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity. Ooh, that's interesting.
And I was like, I almost called my drink that, and I was like, oh, that's fucking good. But that's what it is. It's like, and it's funny because I have some real close friends from high school, and we've gotten together, and I started to think about that, and I'm like, is this the difference between guys and girls? Because I would say we're about the same age as them. We got together as a guys' weekend, but we just went to a friend's house and we just hung out. But we didn't front on each other. We didn't try and play off our lives as any better. We just reminisced and had a good time. But these guys, they nitpick, and as soon as they're in these twos and the two of one's gone, they start shit talking each other, and I was like, oh,
we
fuck.
almost get a sense of what they were like when they were younger, and they probably have drawn that kind of that teenage Mean Girls attitude that they probably were a clique back in the day, and that's when they get back together that just kind of settles back in.
I was just curious though if that's a difference in women and men.
You know what? I'm gonna say something. Carrie Coons was the one that I think I identified with most, and that's not. I'm not meaning that I'm feminine. I just the way it had.
No, I know what you mean.
Had a lot to do with her kind of her monologue on the last episode.
Yes,
which had me in tears at the end. And it wasn't so much that I believed what she was saying, but I thought she had found a truth in just how important friends are, regardless of the superficiality. And I wrote down so many things that she said where she talks about how, work was her religion. She lost her faith in that. And then she tried love, and then she tried being a mother. And she realized that time is what gives it meaning, which I had a hard time kind of identifying with, but I get it. How she just says she likes to be there and have a seat at the table with her friends, And I thought about you and me, because I know we have different political views. Sometimes we, there's things that sometimes you say that, frustrate the hell out of me. And I'm sure there's things that I say too, but that's not, that's not why I love you. That's not why you're a friend that I want to be around. It's
one part of the whole, and it's the whole that I love.
I think there's a need that we have to have friendship that resonates beyond, believing in the same thing,
Yes.
So that's something that I was blown away by that. I did not expect her character to go there. I thought she was going to dismiss them all and say, hey, I've come up to the conclusion. I don't need you to, I'm out of here, or something to that effect. And
Jacqueline nailed it a little bit, because, they had their little tiff, right? Which, you've had arguments, and you get mad at friends from time to time, especially if, like you said, we have different beliefs and different things and stuff like that. We see things different ways, but in the end, we're still friends. And she came back in after everything, and she says, I want to be your friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what it is.
It's kind of like that value of friendship, regardless of, and
then Carrie brought it, or Lori brought it in after and said, I love you have a beautiful face, and you have a beautiful life. And she did. She brought up it was great. And yes, very, very emotional, very, it makes you look into yourself and your own friendships. And I was like, oh God. Yeah. And I thought about, we have a lot of different thought processes of how we do things, but we also, it's the whole of what it is, and it doesn't matter if we have different political beliefs or different religious beliefs or different food thoughts, whatever it is, but we still enjoy being together as friends. Just with like my other friends from high school, we get back together, and it's like time had never moved on. We're back to, I haven't seen these guys sometimes in years, and then we're back together, and it's like no time has passed. We're just back to being friends. And I've had arguments with them before over different things, and we have different beliefs, but we're still tight, and I would have their back 100% every time, no matter, they're the kind of friends you call when you got to, move a body, not just when you got to move, kind of thing. That's the definition of friendship. A real friend is the guy that'll help you move a body, not just move your house. So it's kind of, so I really enjoyed that. Now, like I said, I wonder how different that would be in a guy's friendship, because we are a little different. We joke a little differently. We're a little less concerned about how we look typically. I mean, in my friendships, like, we don't look at one guy because he's got a lot of money, like, oh my God, you're so rich and we're so envious of this. No, it's just, whatever, you're a friend, and we don't look down on anybody for, it's a different mentality, but it's still a good dynamic to show. And I was really interested in that, and that was a fun part of the show for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really, I loved when they were out hanging out with the Russians and at the Muay Thai fight.
I loved when they went when Valentine sent them off to that other place when they're looking for and they,
the old people?
They're sitting down at the pool and then she just starts looking around, and realizes that this is all icky. They have a lot of moments like that in this series.
Well, that was just Jacqueline.
They have
the other two were fine with it.
They were fine with it, but they point out the losers back home, the LBHs, and then of course. What is it? What's her name? The middle sister,
Piper.
Piper. Yeah, I don't know why I can't pull that name up. I was looking on my list and they're not in the right order, so I was just hunting for faces. But how she does, she figures out that she can't handle the monk lifestyle because it's not air conditioned and it's and the food isn't
vegan
it's
or
vegan, but
it wasn't organic or
something like that. And she just starts crying, and of course, Mom gives the thumbs up because that
was great.
Yeah.
Well, so I know we're
that plays
we're
into your
jumping
idea,
around.
but that plays into your idea of identity. You identify with what makes you feel good, and if you
this is the children, right? The way they came into it. Piper came into this like, I'm all about going to visit this Buddhist colony. This is where I want to go from the next year. I'm going to reject my pampered lifestyle and my money, and I'm going to live this pauper life and stuff like that. And then she gets there and she can't do it. Now, I don't know, is that because Lachlan went with her and he's like, dude, this is the shit. I could do this. Or is it really, would she have done that on her own if she was the only one there?
The second time I watched it, I found it interesting that I think Piper was responding a lot to, the demands that Mom was saying. Mom was saying this, or you got to do this and that, and she was like immediately saying, no, I don't want to do that, or she was reacting to that. But when they at the end, when she came back and she was sitting down talking to, and her mom and dad were there, and Dad was just kind of like, what?
I am just a spoiled princess.
Well, yeah, but it was when Dad just kind of said, it's okay if you, or I don't know exactly what he said, but he almost gave her permission to go. And once she was faced with, she's no longer pushing back on her dad saying, no, you can't do this. He's saying, yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, do.
And
he's legit. Go do it.
That's when she gets honest. I thought that was interesting because, of course, he's in his whole.
I think that's 100%
death spiral that
changing her morals.
Yeah,
like morals? Morals.
Okay.
Yeah, her morals is like, I want to reject this rich lifestyle. I want to, I'm all about, I don't need the money to live. I'm all about peace and, but no, really she's about like, I can't do that. I can't live without air conditioning. I can't live with organic vegetables.
Well, she feeds off of defiance. And when she's defying her mother, her father's wishes, then she pushes back. But once Dad just kind of says, do what you want, that's when she's faced with, this is the reality. I don't want to take this.
And then the flip side is Saxton, who is, he talks to his dad at one point. He's like, it's all about the business for me. And, I've got to be a winner. And if I can't do this, what am I? And then he gets these books and he gets shot down, by Chelsea. And it's like, I'm not this stud that everybody wants. And he starts looking inward and he goes from being this toxic masculinity, overpowering, like just meathead, guy, to being like, he's really like believing in the Buddhist theories and
I like
looking for a soul.
I really like Saxon's story. He was someone that kind of turned me off right at the beginning because he's just a typical
that's what they want you.
Frat boy.
Yeah, frat boy.
But just watching him evolve and stuff. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger's son.
Yeah. Which is funny. I would have thought he would have looked a little bit more like his dad, but I think he looks a little bit more like the housekeeper.
Maria Shriver. Well, wait, the housekeeper.
Isn't this the one that was the house? Isn't
no,
this
it's
the
Maria
one
Shriver's.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Because I think the one that's the housekeeper's son is also an actor.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
No, but this is the one that's actually Maria Shriver's son.
He was great.
There was a
so
look
good.
when Chelsea reunites with Rick, when Rick gets back from Bangkok.
The look.
And well, they're talking the two of them. And it's interesting because Rick comes over and you see Chelsea look over, and part of me was like, oh shit, Rick's going to spot them together. and be a little questioning. But she just lights up and goes running towards him and just gives him this hug that just everything about that is pure. And that's what he sees. He's just like, that's what that's what Saxon, when he's just watching. And that's what he realizes he wants. He wants that sort of, that love. I was really moved by that. And again, I think Saxon he put in a really good performance with that whole.
But the thing with him too that really changed him is he was being shot down by Chelsea, who is like, any normal girl who knows who he is and has the money and all this and stuff would just fall into his arms. But she's like, no, you don't have a soul. And he started looking into himself and he's like, fuck, I really don't. And that's where he started changing his philosophy and his
even if his younger brother says, you just need to you just want to get off on everything. That's all you want to do. And yeah.
Well, in the end too, like Lachlan comes into this, he's just putty in their hands. Like he can be manipulated and played however they want him. And in the end, like when they go to the full moon, he starts leading everybody, and he's kind of the go-to man. He becomes the outspoken one, right? And so and then when he goes to the Buddhist monk with his sister, he's like, oh yes, I could fucking totally do this. This is all about me. He is the one that was so meek and pliable in the beginning, and then he stands up as like, no, I'm the one that in the end of the 3 children. Now he also has his near-death experience, which I think was weird. It's an interesting aspect. Like I'm torn between this, because should they have let him die, or should they have not? Like, would it have been a better story to have this whole thing where Timothy Ratcliffe, played by Jason Isaac, which to me was when I figured out who he was, I was like, because we've been doing the Harry Potter, I was like, oh, that's Lucius.
Yeah,
so different than Lucius. Like,
I've seen him in other things before, so I'm.
But the English actor carrying that accent, I was like, that dude did some work.
Yeah.
But like, he was so ready to kill himself, and we had these dream sequences of him shooting himself, and then shooting him and his wife, and then shooting him and his son, and it's like, oh shit. And then he was literally going to kill Saxon and Piper and his wife with him, like Victoria and him with the pina coladas, and they couldn't do it. But then Lachlan ends up taking it enough to, could have been
it would have been kind of a Romeo and Juliet, how the poison and stuff like that. Yeah, I see that. I think I was pleased he survived, but still,
I don't know.
I think the death would have overshadowed what Tim had almost.
Well,
done.
he had his last moment. He has his last moment, like, hey, we're gonna get through this no matter what.
Yeah.
So he does have that come up,
but he knows what he went through. He knows what he did. They'll probably be able to put it together. Everything.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a bad ending for them. I think it's going to amplify whatever he has to deal with a little bit more. I think if the son died, well, I guess I don't know what.
See, that's what I mean. It's almost like a cheap way out. Like they kind of took the Disney way out on that one, where they let him live. I thought it was.
Oh, so you're saying
they let Timothy off too easy.
I don't know.
Like his actions, right? His actions have no consequences right now. Other than that, he's going to lose his money, whatever. There's still a family. Hopefully they're going to come out of this stronger. But his actions of his whole drug-induced week of him thinking of killing himself, killing his wife, killing his son, killing his daughter, has no ramifications because he gets away with it scot-free and nothing.
I wonder if this whole family storyline of Tim and him just choosing to kill himself and kill his family was Mike White trying to understand what drives a man to do something like that, because it's in the news every once in a while, murder suicide, where someone will take out the whole family in a way. And maybe this was him trying to put that together, and in the end they survive, just kind of like Mike White as a writer. He gets to move beyond it, and now you're just left with all the all the things that were in your head, everything. And is it evil to have had those thoughts? Maybe that's more the question. Was it evil?
I mean, it's very interesting.
I mean, even in our minds, when we think about evil things, does that mean we are evil?
That's a good point.
I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but I don't.
No, I get what you're saying.
I don't think the child not dying was a Disney ending. To me, I think it was a choice.
What I mean by that is they didn't have the ramifications of his drug rattled thoughts through the whole week. Like they kind of let him off. Now, and I mean, was it the drugs? Was it his real thoughts? You know, that's what we'll never know. But that's where I was saying it kind of lets him off. It kind of Disney-fies it a little bit, because you know, we do get some deaths, and that's with Rick and Chelsea. But I mean, Rick was on that fucking go. You know, he was on that train from the get-go. You knew. I mean, that guy was just railing, ready to just go. And one of the funnest the most interesting parts of this movie or series,
I know who you're gonna
was oh yeah, I'm bringing up my boy Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Frank, holy crap, that was, first off, nobody knew he was in this until it dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
Apparently they kept a good secret on that, and I was trying to figure out he's married to one of the Cougars. I don't know offhand which one, whether it's Jacqueline Carey or Michelle Monaghan, Leslie Bibb, or Carrie Coon. Might be Leslie. He's married to one of them, but he was out there visiting her when this was shooting, and things just lined up, and it wasn't supposed to be Sam Rockwell. He wasn't going to play Frank in the beginning, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we got this for you. Can you do it?" And like it worked out, and I was like, "That's fucking great." Sam Rockwell is so fucking good. I mean, those two together, you got Sam Rockwell and Walter Goggins together.
Right.
Like, talk about like just chiseled face, leading men, like with personality to fucking boot kind of guys. And they pair them up and just have this fucking time of their life on fucking in Bangkok. You know, the drug like when Frank goes off the fucking rails after the whole thing at the house where he slaps his father down, and you know they get away on the boat, and then he's just, you know, he goes back into drinking, and then they got hookers and they're doing blow and all this, and Rick's just sitting there on the couch smiling because, you know, he finally faced his obsession of meeting the man who killed his father. And Frank is just like, he's back into his drug-addled ways in Thailand, and god damn. And that's what, you know, earlier you said that the nudity that is just shown for a reason. They show a lot of topless Thai women in the background, just to show them as topless background women.
Could be,
but
it could also be, you know, the idea of questioning whether they're women or ladyboys. You know, they do a lot of play with that, and Frank absolutely has that whole, you know, when he talks about how he wanted to be what is it? He wanted to be the woman watching him fuck himself or something to that. I mean, it was
there's a it's a monologue. And yeah, you're just like, what?
And I absolutely loved the monologue, and but I think I even loved, you know, Rick's expressions even more. When they cut back to him, and he had to kind of sit there and respond, and you could tell that this is like, if anything, you know, he's got a one-track mind. He's searching for his father's killer, you know, and that's all he's about, and he's going to do everything that happens. But this is a one moment where he gets a little derailed. You know, I loved the way they played the two of them back and forth.
Sam Rockwell is so good in everything that he does. I mean, I know it wasn't a big hit, but a movie not too long ago, Argyle, came out, and he's in that, and I enjoyed that movie so much. I know I'm one of the few. It's got horrible scores and people just railed on it. I enjoyed it so much but he's in that and he does a great job. I mean, it's got Sam Rockwell, it's got Henry Cavill. I mean, how do you not enjoy the show? It's got Bryan Cranston in it. I mean, come on. It's just it should John Cena even. I mean, it's just one of those shows. It's just like there's so much fun shit in it. I don't know why people shit on this movie so much. It was a lot of fun. But the other one that Sam Rockwell was Jojo Rabbit was one of the ones I'm looking at. But it was it Iron Man 2?
Yeah,
is that
because he was
Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3?
He was in the running to play Iron Man, right? So they brought him back. They brought him back in Iron Man 2 to play Justin Hammer.
Yeah, and he's such like he almost plays like an Elon Musk kind of guy in a way. Like he's got this suave as he comes out onto the stage, kind of doing his shtick and stuff. And
he's a great dancer. I remember seeing him in Charlie's Angels back in 2000, where he's kind of the. I think he starts out like he's a friend of the Angels, but then he turns on him. Yes. You find out he's the evil villain, and you find out because he breaks into this weird, funky dance that, where he's kind of showing his shtick. And it landed enough to where I think they include him doing some dance moves in a lot of the things he does, just because
that could be
kind of enamored.
He does the dance moves in it's one of the Iron Mans. I'm not seeing it on here, but yeah, he was Justin Hammer. So funny. He's just so good. Him and Walter Goggins, there's something about those two together that was just so freaking good, because Goggins he's another one that he's got a face, right? There's just something about his face that you look at him, you're like, God damn, that he is.
He's done, he's gone through life. You see a lot of life in that face. Like he's traveled many miles.
Yeah.
And
Justified. I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's
I know Justified. I know that's the Live Free Die Hard bad guy. Plays the main guy in that.
Okay. He's phenomenal in that. My dad is the one who turned me on to that. Like my dad came and stayed with us one time, and he's like, oh, I gotta watch some Justified. So I ended up buying like season 1 of Justified just so he could watch that while he was hanging out at the house. He's also in the MCU. He's in Sonny Birch and Ant-Man and Wasp. Just
I know him really well from Hateful Eight, the Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, I think he's in a few Quentin Tarantino movies, but that's the one that I.
Yeah, he was in Django Unchained too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just got a face that you're just like, oh. But those two in this are so cool, and it's a great story. Rick's from the get-go, you're kind of like, what's with this dude? Like, the way he treats Chelsea, you're kind of like, he's kind of a dick. I'm not into him. But then when you follow him through his whole thing, and you find out, he meets his father at the end, but he doesn't know it's such a crazy fucking thing, and it all like. Some people were blaming the therapist for this all going down because she didn't.
I know.
Take him. I was like, oh, it's so lame.
It's fair. I mean, she had her moment. Who is that? What's her name? Armita, the meditation teacher, the spiritual counselor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he comes up to her and is like, look, I need you.
I need you.
If she could have just seen that in his eyes and said, yeah, you do need me. And, I don't care. Zion, you can wait. You can go sit. You could be the one to sit on a chair. I'm going to talk to this guy because I can see it in his. Obviously, she did not see it. If she really could connect, was a spiritual counselor, she would have seen exactly what was going on.
Oh, he was losing his shit.
Yep. So yep, I blame her too.
I thought that was kind of funny. So we got the next level of the main hotel manager in Fabian.
Yeah.
Kind of funny, interesting, but like a nothing burger.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good character to have just because you're interested, because that character has been such a big part of the previous ones. You know, that they've got to have some sort of story. And his was
they got to have someone.
He wanted to sing. He wanted to be like in Monty Python, who was the guy that I just want to sing.
The Prince. So it's Kristen Friedel, who a German guy who apparently is known for Zone of Interest. Apparently plays a really bad guy in that. And a lot of people were saying they know him from that. So they were like, it's
Zone
such a.
Did you ever watch that? That was we covered that when we did Academy Awards.
We did talk about it, but no, that was one of the ones I didn't get a chance to see. I know everybody.
That was a really hard movie to watch. You know,
well, that's what they're saying is everybody knows because he's apparently a real hard ass in that, like a and so they're like, it's such a flip. And apparently he's a real singer, and so they're like, and that's the song he chose, or they gave him to sing. I was like, oh, that's funny. So yeah, just kind of they're slowly getting away from the staff being part of the story. I mean, we got Alexi, who he had his role. I think it was Alexi, right? He's the.
You mean Valentine?
Alexi was the other German. Yeah, Vlad and Alexi, but yeah, Valentine. You know, he had his comeuppance and got what he needed. But yeah, they're interesting. Do you have PayPal? Cash App? Trying to get the. It's like, oh, that's pretty funny.
Oh, well, that was Alexi. That was Alexi, the one.
That was Alexi, but yeah. But I mean. You got to think they're all three into the same, like they're all three kind of the same, like they're all just gifters. What's the word?
Grifters. Yeah, that's fair.
Grifters.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all just, which I thought was an interesting thing with Guy Talk, where he's like, he knows that they're the ones that did it. And he's like, hey, if you turn me in, I'm going to be dead. And he doesn't. And I was kind of like, that's, I don't know.
He doesn't.
There's some misses. Yeah, he doesn't like that. Doesn't seem in his character. Like to me, I think he would have. It's like, I think Guy Talk would have turned him in. I think that's he's all about right and wrong a little bit, and he just doesn't.
He's all about analyzing it through the eyes of the Buddha. And so he questions. He has a hard time. I mean, I think he plays things very safe.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give you that. He does play things safe, and that is the safe play to not rock the boat.
Yeah.
I know we mentioned his name, John Grease, who plays Greg Gary. Very interesting. Like he's almost a different person in this one. He seems like a different type of he had a character shift. Personality wise,
what I mentioned, the three men on the boat, this was almost when I thought it had a bit of a lull, because Greg, as well as Rick, as well as Timothy are all kind of going through their thing where they're in their head. There's with Rick, you don't know what's going on. With Tim, you know what's going on, but he's just kind of contemplating death and suicide. He's just down, and then Greg,
everything's going bad,
and Greg just doesn't. You don't really know what's going on with him. You think, oh, he got away with it. He just doesn't want to engage with anyone. So I found those three characters, as interesting as they were, they didn't bring much when they were in their head, and that all kind of happened in those middle episodes, which is I think is where I got a little bit. I thought the pace slowed a little bit, because it's hard to really explore a character when they're just in their head, or you don't, it's all about the mystery of what's going on.
Yeah. When they talked to him on the podcast I listened to, it was really interesting that, he was taking notes from season 1, season 2, season 3, kind of creating his personality and his backstory and all this that you don't know all about, but it's in his head and how he plays it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Mike White told him is like, you are a psychopath. And he's like, oh, okay. A little bit of change there. Okay. The other thing I always thought, I didn't realize this, but he's Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. That's funny.
You know where I know him from is a movie a long time ago called Real Genius with Val Kilmer.
Yes.
He was the guy.
Fucking great movie. Great movie.
He played the guy that was behind the closet, that had that kind of that would come out of the closet and wander, and he ends up
Isn't he the one that did all the not sweepstakes?
Yes, and he wins a camper.
He wins all of them
because he does the math and realizes if he just enters in a million entries, because you don't need as many. Laszlo,
Right.
that's his name, Laszlo Holyfeld, because he's like I remember Val Kilmer's character. The Real Genius is a great movie, but
It is. That's an incredible movie.
Yeah, that's a great sequence.
Holy
with
shit!
Laszlo.
We got to figure out what month that came out, because that's a 1985. That is going on a 40 year. Is that right?
Came out in August.
Oh, I think I see an August movie review.
Nice.
Oh, that's funny. That's great. Yes, Real Genius. One of my like go-to, just like, that's a great movie. Like,
Good.
It still holds up.
Let's save it for August. I love it. Let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
no, that's awesome. So yeah, it just but with the Greg Gary character, what were your? I mean, we haven't even talked. I don't think we've said her name yet. I got to pull up her name real
Chloe?
quick. I got to find. Is that who it is? Chloe.
You talking about the one that was with Greg? Gary.
Greg Gary.
Yeah.
Either one, it works. What was your take on that whole? Like, I mean, I get they had plenty of girls with old bald white guys or losers back home, which I take offense to. That's kind of fucked up. But being an old white black bald guy, but the whole freaking cuckold thing with the mom, and he just wants to. I was like, what the hell? Like, did that seem right? Was that out of just fucking left field or what?
Yeah, that seemed a little weird.
It did. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense, because of the way he was in the first two seasons. It didn't play into it. Like, I was like, that doesn't seem like the same guy that was gonna kill his wife to get money, and that just seems like that's literally what he's been doing his entire life, is just finding rich women to kind of.
Yeah, but he could have scored the bull. He could have gotten rich more than he knows what to do with, and now he's just faced with he needs to lay low, and all he has is money, and so maybe he's faced with kind of a new reality where. Before it was always kind of chasing a dime and trying to figure out where the next script's going to be. Now he's set for life, but he has to lay low, and maybe he's getting tired of. Maybe he's going through the same sort of stuff Frank is. Frank, that he was on this escalating path to this debauchery. That to the 11th degree, and maybe that's the path that Gary's exploring, because he's got so much money. And
yeah, it was just a weird take that I was like, oh, I don't.
A lot of it felt like it was just seeing things through Chloe's eyes, though, too. So,
or maybe it was just a story he told her to kind of cover up something else. It was just really weird.
Well, that's very fair. Yeah, I think that's a good call. That he was just trying to give her something to go chase, to figure out. Here's
It's like, I like looking at you, but I can't do this every night. Go find something to play on, And he's securing enough in his money that he doesn't care if, he can buy a new girl if he needs to, kind of thing. So maybe just an interesting, he was such a switch from how he was before. It was kind of a weird flip. Loved the fucking house he was in. I was like, holy crap. Like, cause I mean, I don't know, everybody listening knows, but we're in the process of trying to remodel our own home. And it's like, I see the big ass house and all the cool shit. And I was like, fuck, how cool would that be? And then I would think, how much would that cost? I'm like, nope, I'm just going to put a little fucking cottage here, a little small house that I can, but yeah, I was like, God, it'd be so good to have that much kind of money. Now this was a lot of fun. This, I mean, compared to the other seasons, it started off a little slower. Like it was a little like, I was kind of like, the first season we really got into the characters really quick. Yeah. This one seemed to drag a little bit more. Other than the what do they call it? The victory tour girls. Okay. Right. They didn't call it a girls' weekend. They called it a victory tour, which I was like, that's spot on. I like that. I enjoyed them right off the bat, just because, I mean, as I've gotten older, one of the things I cherish most is friendships.
Yeah.
Long-term friendships, and the ones that I've been able to keep. And so when I see things like that, I love to see the view of it and what other people see of it and stuff. And so to me, that was so personal to kind of live, especially because it's like I said earlier, guys and girls think differently. And I know, I've heard a lot of different things about how women break each other down and how women, they nitpick each other to death and stuff like that. And I was like, God, man, best friend guys don't do that. I don't think guys do that in general as much as women. So it's kind of interesting to see that view from like, oh, that's what long-term personal girlfriends look like, in a unbiased view. You're not getting a jaded, I talk to my wife about, her friendships with her friends and stuff like that. And when they go out and have lunches and stuff, and I get kind of the good stuff. I don't ever get the nitty gritty details of like what might be bad, where we get to see the bad side. And so it's kind of fun in a way to see that. In the Ratcliffe family, I was so I don't know, something about Jason Isaacs and his portrayal. I just kept going, man, he's so far off of Lucius Malfoy, and that just happens to be because we're watching Harry Potter at the time. So I was so caught up into that. But I love the interactions of the children, right? I had so much fun with that.
What about Parker Posey?
Parker Posey to me was kind of
Victoria. Yeah.
She didn't really. She had lines. She was comedy relief, but didn't really add much to the story.
I get what you're saying. I absolutely loved her performance, and every time she spoke,
her performance was great.
My jaw would just kind of drop. The first time I heard her speak, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You know who she reminds me of, and this is someone that I adore as well. But I almost think of this person as a cross between Victoria and Parker Posey, because I don't know if you've seen Parker Posey just in real life. She's very much kind of a showman, how she kind of shows herself off. She's very flamboyant, but of course she doesn't have an accent like that, and she's really into things. But here is someone who's just full of money and kind of plays it up a little bit. I'm thinking of Katie, our friend Katie from.
Oh my God, you're 100% right. She is a Katie. Yeah, Katie is a her.
I love Katie.
Don't know.
I love Katie, but Katie,
I do. Yeah,
she comes from money. She totally would probably.
And she's still in
probably
money.
Adores Parker Posey. I don't think she'd appreciate me comparing her to Victoria, but part of me does too a little bit. Just kind of the way she.
Well, that's only because Parker Posey played that character, so you see Katie as playing.
Yes.
Victoria, not necessarily Victoria being Katie. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying there. I know Parker Posey from Lost in Space. She played the Dr. Smith character.
Okay.
And it was I don't know about you, but I loved.
Or the movie. It was this must have been a TV show.
It was a TV series. It was the reboot from in 2018 to 2021.
Okay.
I watched Lost in Space so much as a child, right? And so I was so ingrained with the Dr. Smith and how it was, and it was a what do they call that? Where they switch the gender role switch for Dr. Smith.
Uh-huh.
And at first I was kind of like, oh, I don't get it, but she nailed it so perfectly. She was Dr. Smith from the original series as a woman, and it was like, oh my God, I enjoyed that series. I know it wasn't for everybody, but I did enjoy it. It might have been because I enjoyed the original so much.
Yeah.
So, and she's been in a lot of stuff, and she's
in a lot
great.
of the Christopher Guest, the mockumentaries, the Mighty Wind.
Yeah.
And, I don't think she was in Spinal. Well, maybe she was in Spinal Tap. Maybe she had a role. But
she was in Superman Returns.
Was she?
What was the Best in Show?
Yeah.
I think she was in Best of Show. They were saying there was a lot because wasn't Jennifer Coolidge in Best of Show also? I think they were saying. So there was a lot of people were saying she was this season's Jennifer Coolidge because they couldn't have it. So, okay, here's the question that everybody's asking. We got a season 4 coming, right? We all know that they've greenlit it. If they're bringing it back. They're bringing back someone. I mean, I think Greg Gary has to show up because he's been in all 1, 2, and 3. He's got to show up at least as a cameo. He doesn't have to be a big part of it. But what character do you want to see from either season 1, 2, or 3 return? Because there's got to be one. What person would you want to see in that?
I wouldn't mind seeing Saxon. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the Radcliffe family history. I think Saxon. I was most interested in his character. Well, I was really interested because of how he evolved and how he kind of. I didn't like him at the beginning. Just I had a visceral negative reaction to him, like a lot of people would, just because of his,
frat boy.
Yeah.
Frat boy is a negative personality,
and yet he played that character so well, and part of his portrayal just drew me to that role even more. I think I'd like to see him back. I'd have to think of the other seasons. I mean, I don't know. What do you got? I'll just stick with that for now.
Here's a couple of different scenarios I heard other people talk about, and I kind of like, okay, Saxon is one of them. Like, I think Saxon would be a great character. I actually wouldn't mind seeing all 3 of the Ratcliffe kids coming back together, the 3 of them in their new personalities, where Saxon now is the more Buddhist mentality, peace and love and all that, and in inner workings and soul. Lockie is more, now that he's kind of taken over the Saxon role, is like the macho guy and drinking protein shakes and that, and then Piper is now the kind of rich girl. That would be interesting. Or you throw all 3 of them out and you bring back Victoria Ratcliffe, right? They go home, everything goes down, she ends up getting a divorce and now is married to someone else. Right? She said, fuck that, I can't be broke. I ditch you. Throw Tim to the curb and picks up another guy, and now add a new White Lotus.
Sure, that actually lends to the mystery, because people are going to be saying, "Oh, that must mean she dies in the 4th one because that's what happened to Tanya."
Should be
the new Tanya. That
yeah.
Although one of the things Mike White mentioned is that he wants to go away. He said he's overdone the water theme.
Yeah, they're talking about
the imagery, the water imagery of all those, cutting away.
Ski resort. Yeah. Ski resort is the next one.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I think that's where they're going. They're going Winter Wonderland ski resort. Season 2, I think you got what was Tanya's assistant, Portia. Right. You bring Portia back. Somehow she came into some money, and now she's kind of, little hoity-toity, and got her nose up in the air.
What about her Artful Dodger, tour guide that left her at the altar in the, I'm using these as references, but the guy that turned out to be a slime ball. You didn't like him, but I could see him. I could see him coming back.
The English kid.
Yeah,
the English kid. Yeah, what happens when his uncle quote fingers up there? His uncle is no longer around because he got shot. His uncle daddy, if you would call him. Could be. I don't want to see him though. Really, I don't like that guy. Season 2, I think Portia would be the one for me, and then season 1. You know what? Season 1, we got to bring back the boy who
was arrested?
The son.
Oh, okay, the one that went off on the
either him or maybe you bring back the daughter, the sister of what's her name? She's the big actress that's everybody.
I know. Because you want to see her.
Yeah, I want to see her jugs. I want to see. Fuck yeah. And you know what? She's talked about it. She's like, yeah, I don't care. I'll do nudity. She's all about it.
Yeah, you can find nudity.
She's blessed.
Yeah.
Fucking give it to her.
She was on Saturday Night Live and they played that up so, I mean, she was like, she leaned into it. She's leaned into it. Yeah. But they had this great sequence.
Yeah, she did.
What's the Wang, one of the cast members,
are you talking about from like the
Yoan Wang?
Oh, yeah.
He's gay, but they did a whole sequence where they had a fling.
Where he's not gay?
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah, and they were making out. It was like this Saturday Night Live skit. It's hilarious. So
Why can't I think of her name? God damn it.
I don't know. Our listeners know.
Well, yeah, everybody should know.
I mean,
So
they
yeah,
know who we're talking about.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to catch it. Why is she not
Hey,
showing up?
one of
Go
the
ahead.
I thought this was the most. This is from a resort standpoint. This was absolutely gorgeous. I would love to be at a place like this. But one thing
Thailand?
we did not get a sense of was what I heard a lot of the actors talking about was how hot it was and how miserable it was. So with that removed, this is a place I would love to be, but I don't know if I could stand it with the heat because they said they were just dealing with
They did
crazy
say it
hot
was
temperatures.
really Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney,
That's who
yeah.
we're
Okay,
talking
there
about.
we go.
And I picked it up off my head without actually seeing. For some reason, her name isn't showing up on IMDb for the show. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
The other resorts from season 1 and 2, I kind of turned my nose at. I don't like all
The Italy,
inclusive little resorts.
Hawaii.
Yeah, both those just felt like. If you're
So
gonna go to a place
remember
like
the
that-
first one was done under COVID restrictions, so they were kind of forced into that one. And they talked about that, like where they were opened up, and this one got into more, and that's why they're saying, like, oh God, you know what? If they go into a ski resort type thing, and we get a Shining type series, holy crap! Could you imagine that? There's some rich people in a Shining type series.
What sort of a theme do you think? I mean, if he's explored violence, he's explored sex, he's explored money. What's the next kind of theme or morality and identity?
Someone wrote it down. It wasn't. Oh, here we go. First one was greed. Second one was lust. This one was pride.
Oh, so we're going through the 7 deadly sins.
7 deadly sins.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So envy. I mean, there's.
Oh
there's
God,
gluttony.
envy would be fucking great.
Yeah.
Envy would be a really good
you
one.
see a lot of those themes interwoven. I mean, but which one's the one that stands out? What is there? Okay, there's envy, there's gluttony, there's wrath. So
Wrath could be a really.
To me, that is season 3 is wrath. I don't know what I don't know if I agree.
Only really well when you really look at pride. I think is the reason they talk about pride is because you talk about the 3 friends, right? They are all very prideful in showing their best forward self. The Ratcliffes, their pride in they can't live without money, right? What are we without money? Not really Chelsea and Rick. There's not a pride thing. That's kind of a little, but I mean, that's just, someone wrote that and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But it's a little, like you said, they all have a little bit of all of it in it.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's, you pick one, but you sprinkle in the others, right? You season it.
The 7 deadly seasons. Yes.
Oh my God, that's great. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, that was the other question is where would you want to see the 4th season done? He talked about not wanting to be around water again. The only thing I could think is ski resort.
Well,
I don't know what else you
when I heard it, I didn't know. I thought he was referring to the water imagery, which he kept he does a lot. Like in the episode 8, they're always cutting to the water coming, the tsunami.
This one had a lot of back to the ocean. The Buddhist mentality of we all go back into the main flow, and that's where the water. But I think he was just talking the ocean crashing and just getting off a beach.
Is there like a safari type? You can be in in the Sahara. You could
Africa.
Do they have 4 seasons out there to kind of take.
I bet you they
luxury safari. The pyramids.
Probably.
Egypt.
Yeah, I mean. Now one of the things that he likes to show is he likes to show skin, right?
Yeah.
They're always in skimpy clothes. They're always, there's always something. So you go snow, people are just bundled up, right? Everybody's wearing fucking sweaters and all that shit. So that would be a downside. There is an attraction to showing in a beachfront thing because you get to put people in bikinis. You get to put people in skimpy clothes.
But when you're at a luxury resort where it's cold, they're going to have an indoor area that is
not enough to be wearing bikinis and skin tight clothes without bras and like the stuff that's really. I mean, I noticed Amy Lou. She didn't wear a bra through most of this. It was very evident, and I noticed it, and I was very happy for it. So, I mean, you're not going to get that in a ski resort, I don't think. So that would be one of the downsides of going to ski resort. But you never know. I mean, Mike White is a clever guy. He's very smart, and he's
also shifted continents. So he was in North America, where we get USA for Hawaii. Then we went to Europe in Italy, and then we were in Asia for Thailand. Or what is it that Victoria says?
Taiwan.
Mom.
She was great.
Oh,
I mean,
I thought it was so funny when they're at the three the girls on the Victory Tour are dancing. When they're dancing, and the shots come, and one of them says something like, I don't know, some Russian thing for, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's Thai. I can't remember. But they say, oh no, we don't say that. We say shot. Anyway, whatever it was, it sounded like someone says it again, and then it's Jacqueline that says Shia LaBeouf. I almost came out, I wrote that down. I was going to look up a Shia LaBeouf cocktail, but it's funny because she was in a movie with Shia LaBeouf. She was in Eagle Eye, I believe it was. So
that's funny.
So
he was an up and comer for a while, so I could see him being in a lot of stuff with these people. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think people are very excited for another season.
Yeah, this is like an addictive show. There's something like a drug about that. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, because it's a soap opera, but it's just really interesting too.
Because it touches on the dirty side of mentality.
Yeah, well,
it's not. Well, here's what I'm saying: is it's
dirty?
Well, no. Here's what I mean by this. It's like no one is perfect. They're showing the. Like everybody, there's nobody in here who is perfect and clean. Everybody has a downside, and everybody can then see themselves a little bit in there, because we all in our own mind are like, I'm a good person, but I have some flaws. No matter how much I try and hide them, and that's what they show. Where not all movies and not all TV series will show the flawed side of life.
Well, you mentioned
it's a train wreck.
I think
it's a train wreck. Nobody wants to. You can't look away.
I think it was season 2, or maybe it was season 1. You were talking about the stereotypes, and a lot of the characters were based on stereotypes. And I agree with that, especially in like episode 1 or 2 of the show when they're introducing them. Like we get Saxton, and he's the stereotypical frat boy, and you get these stereotypes, but then it takes them and gives them a journey that takes you places that that evolve the characters, but in a way that resonates as real. And there's something about the way Mike White writes these characters where you don't, even though sometimes they shock you with their behavior, you understand it, or you can say, wow, that makes sense, even though most TV or shows don't explore characters that deeply, but he seems to really be able to harness something in them that is real and that we kind of go, oh my God, yes. And it resonates.
He did that
deeper.
again with this one, though.
Yeah,
he did that in this one. He had stereotypes.
He did.
And not all of them got it played out. I mean, Saxon, we started with one stereotype and we worked through it.
Yeah.
Lachlan had a stereotype and we worked through it. Piper had a stereotype and we worked through it.
And he explores cultural differences too, because some characters, like, that's where I was trying to look at like Born Giants and try to understand, is there something culturally that I don't understand about this? Maybe it's something Mike White has done a little bit more, delving into cultural differences between that. I found that in season 2 with a lot of the Italian customs and stuff that seemed to be more prevalent, that you wouldn't necessarily find at an American resort, but you would in a culturally
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Environment. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Porn Chai was glossed over. He was there to move along the story with Belinda to give her something other than to do than
Someone to slap down in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I know what you're saying. I think we got more of that with Guy Talk and Mook. Right. I think we get more of the cultural differences in Guy Talk and Mook.
Yeah.
Where Guy Talk really is showing the Buddhist style.
I got to do a shout out to Pam too, the host for the the Radcliffe family. Some of the way that she didn't have much screen time.
I loved her voice though.
The way she just kind of like reacted to some of their things. Like she didn't do eye rolls, but you could see just that smile on her face and the way she was just kind of having to contend with people that just expected to get their way. I really. She was very much a highlight in the scenes that she was in. She wasn't just a few, but I liked her a lot.
So Morgana O'Reilly, who played Pam,
she pointed out the pong-pong tree too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not 100% perfect on picking out Australian versus New Zealand accents, and I know that's like, oh my God, how could you not? They're. But she's from one of those two.
Yeah,
and I love it.
You're right.
I love it. She reminded me of some of the people I know.
I think she was Australian. I think that was an Australian accent.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to call it out exactly. But yeah, I just the way I love the Australian and New Zealand accents. I just love the way they say stuff. To me, it's just so cool. Like if I could pick one accent to have, it would either be a hardcore Scottish accent or probably Australian. Like that would be just who I wanted to be. And when I mean hardcore Scottish, I mean like almost unintelligible Scottish, like Groundskeeper Willie from The Simpsons.
Yeah. What was Brad Pitt in Snatch, the movie? I don't.
Well, he was a gypsy,
something like that.
Yeah, but that was
But
the gypsy.
You talk about not being able to understand that. Yeah. I love how they put subtitles on him just so you can just kind of figure out.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, White Lotus season 4, we'll get it wherever it comes. I'm sure people are going to be just ready to watch and binge it all. It's it's one of those they're fucking with people, put it out 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and I gotta.
Although I don't know if I could binge this.
I know we threw spoilers in this, but people that are tuning in, they have to listen and they know that we're going to throw some spoilers out. But I got to send out a fuck you to Brian Tyler Cohen, who is a left-wing outrage porn YouTuber, that the day after episode 8 aired, he put out a political video kind of trashing Trump on his stock market debacle. And he said, and basically without clicking on the video, I could see he when you just kind of hover the mouse over it and it kind of lights something up.
Oh, you were telling me about
he had put a picture of Chelsea and Rick, their dead bodies from the movie, that Yin Yang one, and it had the caption that said, "Stock market is falling faster than Rick and Chelsea into their lifeless body into a pond." And this was the day after episode 8 dropped.
So you hadn't even had a chance to watch it.
Holy shit. I hadn't watched it yet. I put a nasty comment in there just like, thanks for that. I didn't even watch the video. So anyway, I blocked him. I don't want to see any of his stuff showing up in my feed
Good
anymore.
for you.
But anyway,
that's good. I wasn't spoiled on anything, luckily, but as much as I've in the past kind of get down my rabbit holes on social media, I just don't have time anymore. So I'm glad I wasn't spoiled on it, because this is a show that's kind of fun to see as it comes through. And
an experience. And I wasn't trying to do any predicting, but still, it was nice to just kind of let it wash over you, at its pace, not at someone else's
and
pace.
I know
trying to capitalize on getting your attention.
I like that the fact too, with a lot of the shows that are out there right now, this doesn't have any. I mean, this one had a little more than any of the others in the past, but doesn't really have a political agenda.
No, it doesn't. There was one moment when
where one of them voted for Trump, and they kind of like, really, and they're like, but
Kate says, let's not talk. We're not going to talk about that.
But she also explained like, hey, I gotta be who I am and do what I got to do for my family, and that's literally all you got to say is like, it doesn't.
No, it's true, but I mean, I think the way she just kind of said that, you're kind of faced with it depends. Yeah, you can't talk about politics if you're.
But it was a great way to handle it. Is like, look, just because I differ politically from you doesn't mean we can't be friends.
True, but I don't think it was meant as a way of showing how to handle those sort of situations. I think because you see kind of Jacqueline and Lori kind of exchange things like, it's like, you voted for Trump, and where it's all about, again, kind of feeding into the judgment of their characters in the early part of it. So I thought it was
but they also got past it and were able to just go back to being friends. That's what I mean. And I saw something recently on Facebook where some close friends of mine, I have this going back and forth about, like, someone put, hey, just because someone voted differently doesn't mean, this. And then someone came back and said, well, if they voted for this person, they're stupid. And like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Why do you got to put everybody, I thought they handled it well, So it was interesting because a lot of shows aren't doing that. They're picking sides. So I thought it was one of those things where it's like, oh my God, you did political, but you did it well. Okay. Hats off to you. All right. Well, join us next week when we are going to dive deep into the new Disney Plus series, Daredevil Born Again.
Which means I have to start watching it. Oh my God, I got a week.
Yeah. I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be able to get into this. It's Disney-fied, but it's still kind of got a Netflix feel. It's not so sparkly white Disney that you're gonna like. You're actually gonna be like, oh, okay. It's an interesting series. We'll talk about it all next week. Some good characters come back. If you enjoyed the Netflix, you probably enjoyed that one. Give it a shot. If you've never watched a Netflix, give it a shot. You never know. Yeah. But it's the next Marvel thing that's coming out, and so we'll be talking about Daredevil season 1.
Yep. And
so if you haven't watched it,
and then the following week we're getting back into Harry Potter again, right?
Harry Potter. We're gonna hit the first of the 7th movies.
7.1.
Yeah, the Deathly Hallows .1. Yes. And then we'll follow up with .2 sometime soon after that. So yeah, get into that. A lot of fun talk on those. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with that. And then all I can say after that is maybe what I really wanted to be was one of those Asian girls.
What's that from? Wait, who's that?
That's Frank? What Frank said.
Frank?
That's Frank.
That's what he went. Yeah, staring at.
What I really wanted to be was one of those Asian girls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What a great little monologue. Okay, Hail Caesars, everyone.
What does that mean?
Hail Caesars.